The casting couch wasn't a whispered scandal or idle rumor. It was a systemic and unspoken rule that governed the film industry. The practice was so widespread that aspiring actors, particularly women, understood the reality long before they stepped foot in Hollywood. Claudette Colbert, one of the brightest stars of the era, acknowledged this grim reality in an interview, admitting that it was an unavoidable aspect of life for almost every actress of her time. Only a select few, such as Bette Davis, managed to avoid its grasp. Davis's prior acclaim on Broadway and her early contract with Warner Brothers shielded her from the predatory practices that defined the industry. Yet, she remained an outlier in an environment that demanded much more than talent from its aspiring stars. For many actresses, compliance wasn't a choice but a grim necessity. This widespread exploitation reflected the power imbalance that allowed Hollywood's gatekeepers, studio heads, producers, and directors to maintain unchecked control. Colbert's admission was more than a personal reflection. It was an indictment of an industry where opportunity came at an unspoken cost. While some endured the system quietly, others attempted to speak out. Marilyn Monroe, one of the most iconic stars of all time, once remarked on her experiences with the casting couch. In her autobiography, she candidly described how her refusal to comply delayed her ascent in Hollywood. "I met them all," she wrote, referring to the powerful men who propositioned her. "Phoniness and failure were the best I'd get by not playing along." Mack Sennett is often celebrated as a comedic pioneer, credited with creating iconic slapstick comedies such as The Keystone Cops. Yet, his behind-the-scenes behavior tells a far more troubling story. Sennett was infamous for his bathing beauties, a troupe of young actresses whose primary qualification was their physical appearance. These women, chosen for their looks over their talent, were subjected to demeaning auditions and often coerced into compromising situations. Private auditions were the norm under Sennett, and aspiring actresses understood the unspoken implications of these meetings. Refusal wasn't an option for those hoping to make it in Hollywood. With countless hopefuls eager to step into their place, dissenting actresses were swiftly discarded. Sennett's behavior, though seldom discussed openly at the time, set a dangerous precedent for the exploitation of women in the industry. His actions contributed to a culture of silence, where survival often meant complicity. Few figures in Hollywood wielded as much influence as Daryl F. Zanuck, the head of 20th Century Fox. Under his leadership, the studio produced timeless classics such as The Grapes of Wrath and The Sound of Music. However, Zanuck's reputation extended beyond his professional achievements. His infamous afternoon meetings were an open secret in Hollywood, a euphemism for private encounters with actresses in a small bedroom adjacent to his office. Joan Collins, a celebrated actress of the era, later recounted the chilling consequences of rejecting Zanuck's advances. Her refusal led to her being blacklisted from multiple projects at Fox, a stark reminder of the price of defiance. Similarly, Judy Holliday, another prominent actress, faced challenges in navigating Zanuck's advances. Zanuck's behavior exemplified the pervasive toxic dynamics of the time, where unchecked power and exploitation were the norm rather than the exception. Errol Flynn was the embodiment of Hollywood charm, captivating audiences with his swashbuckling roles in The Adventures of Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Yet, his off-screen behavior painted a much darker picture. In 1943, Flynn stood trial for statutory assault after being accused by 2 teenage girls. Though he was acquitted, the trial tarnished his public image, cementing his reputation as a predatory figure. Flynn's relationships with underage women were not isolated incidents. Beverly Odland, who was only 15 when she began a relationship with him, later described his manipulative and controlling nature. Studios were complicit in enabling Flynn's behavior, often turning a blind eye to his indiscretions to protect their financial interests. The industry's willingness to prioritize profit over accountability allowed individuals like Flynn to operate without consequence, further perpetuating a culture of exploitation. Louis B. Mayer, the head of MGM, was one of the most powerful men in Hollywood during its golden age. Under his leadership, MGM became synonymous with prestige and success, but Mayer's influence extended far beyond the studio lot. Judy Garland, one of MGM's brightest stars, later revealed the emotional and psychological toll of working under Mayer. Garland described how Mayer referred to her as his little hunchback, a cruel nickname that reflected the physical insecurities he exploited. His invasiveness wasn't limited to verbal abuse. Garland recounted incidents where Mayer placed his hand on her chest, claiming to feel her heart beating. Mayer's actions were emblematic of a culture that groomed young actresses to fit a specific image, controlling every aspect of their lives. For Garland and many others, the cost of stardom came at the expense of their personal well-being. Mayer's control wasn't limited to actresses. Behind closed doors, he dictated every detail of his stars' public and private lives, ensuring they adhered to MGM's pristine image. He wielded his power ruthlessly, ensuring loyalty through intimidation and manipulation. Charlie Chaplin's legacy as a comedic genius is firmly cemented in cinema history. However, his personal life presents a far more troubling narrative. Chaplin's relationships with underage actresses drew significant public scrutiny, particularly his marriages to Mildred Harris and Lita Gray, both of whom were just 16 when he wed them. Chaplin's pursuit of young women was not an anomaly in Hollywood, but rather a reflection of a culture that often excused such behavior for its most revered figures. Despite public criticism, Chaplin's star power shielded him from significant professional repercussions. This troubling dichotomy between Chaplin's on-screen brilliance and off-screen misconduct serves as a stark reminder of the complexities that define Hollywood's golden age. Alfred Hitchcock, often hailed as the master of suspense, brought innovation and artistry to the world of cinema. Yet, his treatment of actresses revealed a far more sinister side. Tippi Hedren, the star of The Birds and Marnie, later accused Hitchcock of harassment and career sabotage after she rebuffed his advances. Hedren's experiences on the set of The Birds were particularly harrowing. Hitchcock subjected her to grueling conditions, including a scene where live birds were used to attack her, a decision she believed was meant as punishment. When Hedren rejected his attempts to control her career, Hitchcock retaliated by blacklisting her, effectively ending her prospects in Hollywood. His obsessive behavior exemplified the darker side of genius, where brilliance often came at the expense of others. The Golden Age was rife with stories of exploitation that extended beyond the well-documented cases. Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire and aviation tycoon who became a Hollywood mogul, was infamous for his obsessive control over aspiring actresses. Hughes would often isolate young women, promising them stardom, while subjecting them to relentless manipulation. He maintained a private network of scouts tasked with identifying young talent, many of whom were groomed for his personal satisfaction rather than professional advancement. Other figures like Harry Cohn, head of Columbia Pictures, were equally notorious. Cohn was known for his blunt and often crude demands. Actresses seeking roles at Columbia were often summoned to his office, where compliance was expected. Rita Hayworth, one of Columbia's biggest stars, endured years of manipulation under Cohn's leadership, with her career decisions dictated by his whims. Even Hollywood's youngest stars were not spared from its predatory culture. Shirley Temple, one of the most iconic child stars of all time, recounted a chilling incident in her memoir. At just 12 years old, Temple faced a producer who exposed himself during a meeting. Her reaction, laughing at the absurdity of the situation, resulted in her being expelled from his office. Temple's story underscores the vulnerability of child actors in an industry that often prioritized profit over protection. For many young talents, the pursuit of fame came with significant risks, exposing them to predators who operated with impunity. The exploitation of child stars is a grim reminder of Hollywood's systemic failures to safeguard its most vulnerable performers. Hollywood's golden age may be remembered for its glamour, iconic films, and legendary stars, but these stories reveal the steep price paid by many to achieve success. Behind every celebrated name and blockbuster hit lay untold accounts of resilience, sacrifice, and, all too often, abuse. The culture of silence that defined this era enabled systemic exploitation, allowing powerful individuals to operate without consequence. As we reflect on these stories, we are compelled to ask, how much has truly changed? While movements like the Me Too movement have brought greater awareness and accountability, the shadows of Hollywood's past loom large, reminding us of the work that remains. The lessons of the Golden Age must not be forgotten if we are to build a future where talent and merit take precedence over coercion and abuse. What are your thoughts on Hollywood's dark history? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the world of cinema.